Hey everybody, this is Javi, and this is my new YouTube channel. So I'm a psychic and intuitive medium and author who uses divination and storytelling to help people overcome generational trauma. And one way I do that is by telling my own truth about my authentic journey and the journey to be my authentic self. And so that means I'll be talking about everything from my trauma to, you know, to everything that is going on with me, good, bad, and indifferent. So if you are interested in learning more about me and learning more about trauma and learning more about inner child energy or inner child work in general, which is what I'll be doing. So if you're interested in that, by all means, subscribe to the channel. You can also like any video that I put on here and also share every video or any video that I put on here. You can also like write a comment. I'm looking forward to it, to interacting with people. So yeah, that's what all you have to do. Just click on that bell so you'll never miss another video that I'll put on here. And you can also spread the word. And sooner or later, I'll have it to where, if folks want to interact with me a lot more, then I'll be adding more stuff on here as far as incentives. But right now, I'm just doing videos um, for this particular channel just to chronicle how I'm doing and to show everyone that, you know what, spirituality is not just about spiritual baths and crystals. Is really like getting into the knee deep of things. It could be really ugly, and you'll be faced with a lot of stuff, when it comes to the self. You know what I mean? Like that's how it is. This is not a game. So I'm definitely doing this video to tell you a story about what is happening right now, what I'm going through right now, in regards to forgiveness and my parents, or my relationship with my parents. This video is actually dedicated to the trans community and a lot of trans and gender nonconforming people who are not talking to their parents, or are very estranged from their parents in some way, shape, or form, because of that lack of acceptance that a lot of us are going through. Okay, so I definitely want to start off by saying that when I'm talking about this, I'm definitely talking about not just trans folks, but Black trans people in particular, because I'm speaking from my own experience. I'm speaking from my own experience as a Black uh, trans person, someone who is gender nonconforming, and how difficult it is to navigate through this system as a Black person, especially when people like me who have a lot of intersections. It's not just about um, one or two, but many. And I'm one of those people who have many intersections. Um, so I definitely want to talk a little bit more about that. But for now, I definitely want to point out that I'm talking about forgiveness, and I'm talking about that difficulty in forgiving your parents, and allowing yourself to grieve that relationship, and allowing yourself to just be where you are, and forgiving when you are, so when you are ready to do so. So I'm starting off with that. The story I want to tell you, it's around my mom. It's about my mom and her calling me on Easter. So she called me. Um, to back up, let me give you a little bit of a backstory, of course. So my mother and I stopped talking maybe like 2 years ago after I came out. In 2007, I came out as trans, trans masculine, gender nonconforming individual, right? And so my mom, she was the second person I told. My father, who I'll get to in a minute, he was the first one that I told, and I got support from everyone else, like on the internet, like from my friends and the majority of my siblings. But as far as my parents, they had a hard time with it. My father, less so than my mom. My mom to this day does not accept me for who I am. She will do anything and everything to call me by my own name, and pretty much would think that I will respond to this with kindness, and that's not the case at all. In fact, her doing this, and on top of that, her being a part of my trauma history. She caused a lot of trauma for me in the past, just as my father has. And she was often disrespectful towards me even after I transitioned. And so because of that, I just told myself that I am giving myself the opportunity to back away. I would love you from afar. I have nothing against you, but I can't do this, especially since she's a huge part of my trauma. Sorry, it's a bit windy out too. Um, Recently, she called me. I want to say on Easter, calling me by my old name and trying to pretend like everything was okay. And I ended up hanging up on her. And what ended up happening was that she called me 3 times. I hung up 3 times, and then she had my sister not only address me by my old name, but had this girl leave me a message. My older sister had to leave me a message because I wouldn't answer the phone. And I've been shaken up ever since because this is around the same time, maybe like a week or a couple of weeks before I stopped talking. I'm gonna know I want to say after, excuse me, I stopped talking to my father. I stopped talking to my father because he would not address me by my name. You know what I mean? And he tried to make it seem like I said something completely different, or I was trying to like come after him, or attack him when that was not the case at all. So for my own peace of mind, I had to let him. I chose. I didn't have to. I chose to let him go. And the reason being is that, for one, I feel like after all the trauma that they have put me through, I was not going to allow them at my age to put me in that position, right? I'm like close to like I'm 39, almost 39 years old. I will be 39 this year, and I feel like after all this, they don't have the right to. At my age, I feel like they don't have the right to do this. I also feel too that one of the reasons why I stopped talking to my parents because they were like a huge part of my trauma history. They were a huge part of how I turned out in regards to my lack of self esteem or my lack of self confidence and my lack of self worth and feeling as if I am not worth anything. Okay. Like it took me years and years and years of therapy and years of my spirituality and working with my spiritual mentor to come to terms with the fact that I really did not feel I was not obligated. Okay, I was not obligated at all to to put up with a lot of what my parents were giving me. So I just did not see myself allowing people who caused a lot of trauma in my life just simply because I'm related to them, that somehow I'm supposed to allow them to treat me any kind of way. And I'll get to that in a minute, but I just wanted to tell that story because um and talk a little bit about forgiveness because like yesterday, I want to say on Easter, um I talked to I talked to my spiritual mentor because she has us meeting she has us meeting every month in group sessions. Sometimes she's just started doing that, and I signed up to do a group session. And that's when when I told her what happened, she basically started talking about like the concept of forgiveness and going through the process of forgiveness, and how it would be benefit me more than anyone else, um, or my parents. It's not exactly for them; it's for me. And there was another person there who said like I had to understand where my parents, are coming from because they are coming from a place of ignorance. They're not coming from a place of abuse. Um, and so they could be right. They could very well be right in regards to that. Um, and I understand where they're coming from, but I also know that forgiveness is a really hard one for me at this point. I wanted to talk about a little bit about that. In the spiritual community, we talk a lot about forgiveness and how forgiveness is very much a huge part of our personal and spiritual growth. How it's very important for us to basically let go of how we were hurt in the past, let go of that anger and that hurt that we have towards that person, or whatever we feel towards that person, and we're supposed to forgive in order to move on. And I get that, like logically, I get it. Um, and it's true. Like when you forgive someone, they no longer have that power over you. They no longer have um, that they no longer have that hold over you, and they cannot even um, they don't have any control over your emotional state. They don't have a hold on it. You know, even if they're like far away, it's as if like they still have a hold on you um, when you are not in a place of forgiveness. And I get that, and I completely understand that. But for me, like part of my grieving, I'm going through a grieving process right now in regards to my parents, because there's a part of me that's like, why are they still treating me this way even after all this time, after all this time that we've lost, they're still doing this shit, right? And that's where I am right now. I'm at a place in my life where I don't have the spoons to forgive anyone anymore. I don't have those spoons to forgive my parents. I don't have the spoons to forgive. Um, it's really windy, but I really don't have the spoons to forgive right now. And and I'm saying that for myself because I'm just now scratching the surface in regards to the severity of the abuse that I went through and how affected I am by that abuse. So to forgive at this point, I wouldn't even know what I'm forgiving. To if we're going to be honest with, if I'm going to be honest with you, I don't feel comfortable forgiving because I don't even know what it is I'm forgiving. Am I forgiving my parents for how they treated me? Am I forgiving them about how they put things in front of me or put their own needs in front of me? Am I forgiving the fact that they allow other people to hit me? Like, what am I exactly for forgiving, and how like and how far, how deep is this rabbit hole, and how um and because I don't know what I'm forgiving, it doesn't make any sense for me to take it there because I don't know how the rabbit hole, how deep it is. Okay. Um, and secondly, I feel like I'm often the one who is like waving the olive branch. Is often me. What's something in my mouth? Sorry, I have something on my front here. But I feel like because I don't know how deep this is, and because I don't know how severe the abuse is, and how much it has a hold on me in regards to a lot of things, I don't feel like they deserve that. And I'm always the one who, like I said before, so I'm often the one that is waving the olive branch when someone is hurt, when I'm hurt by someone. It is often me um, brokering conversations, initiating conversations. It is often me reaching out to the person and saying I'm sorry. It's often me doing that, and it's to the point where like I don't have the spoons any longer to forgive somebody, and I don't even get like I give no words of reassurance. Um, I don't get that same respect in return. Um, and so going back to what I was talking about, knowing that and knowing how I feel, I'm allowing myself to go through a grieving process. I'm allowing myself to grieve the relationship I never had with my parents. I'm allowing myself to grieve over the lack of apologies I've gotten. You know, I'm going over. Uh, I'm allowing myself to ride this out. And the reason why I'm doing this one of the reasons why I'm doing this video is to let you know that it's okay for you to do the same. It's okay for you to when it comes to if you're a trans person who is not talking to their parents in any way, shape, or form, it's okay for you to not speak to that parent. It's okay for you to not be in the process of forgiveness, or It's okay for you to not um, go through that process right now. It's okay for you to do it on your own time. It's okay for you to um, allow yourself to be angry. Allow yourself to be angry, but don't stay there. It's okay for you to um, it's okay for you to just be sad about it. Because I know that I'm very very I'm very sad. I'm not depressed. I'm just sad because all this stuff that's happening between me and my parents could be avoided if they would just realize that I didn't go anywhere. And the person they thought that I was, she did not exist. She did not exist in a way that they thought. It's just like and there's no need to grieve over somebody who's not gone. You know what I mean? Like I'll put it this way, and this is another video that we can talk about. Um, I honor the person I was. I honor the person I was. I honor who she was. She protected me by taking the brunt of the abuse. She took a lot for me to be here and to be here safely and to get here safely. But I'm not her. That was seriously. I really do believe that for people who are transitioning, who they were. Once you transition, that person becomes an energy. The person you once were, the person you once were before you transition, that person is an energy, and that's all they are. They are energy. They are very much an energy. But that's a whole nother video altogether. Is it's like I said, it's the energy. It's a video that we can definitely talk about. We can definitely talk about that. But right now, we're talking about the concept of forgiveness. And what I'm getting from this is that um, the time will come, if you so choose. The time will come when you're going to forgive your parents, when I forgive mine. But the time doesn't have to be today. And it doesn't make you less spiritual, just like it doesn't make me less spiritual. It doesn't make you less spiritual. And this is very especially important for um, this is very important for black folks too who are trans. Black folks who are trans, who don't talk to their parents, because a lot of us come from households that are Christian based, um, or they've been influenced by Christianity, fundamentalist Christianity. You're not obligated to respect your parents when they treat you like shit. And I'm saying this as a black person who has grown up in a household where nothing I did like pretty much nothing I did was right. I feel like a lot of black folks um, feel obligated to respect their parents because it's been instilled in us from generations upon generations that and there's always it's to the point where it's become a bit of a stereotype. Like you don't disrespect your parents in any way, shape, or form. You know that's what something white folks do, and because they're your parents, you are to respect them regardless of what they do and what they say to you, because you are the child. You are the child, and your parents know best. When in actuality, a lot of our parents, when they had us, they're not developmentally. They're not developmentally adult. Developmentally, they're not adults. They are children raising children. In some cases, literally. And depending on what time period they were born in, they're literally like the way they treated you. They're literally treating. They were treated that way by their parents, so they're literally treating you the way their parents treated them. But even then, that's no excuse. That's no excuse to just put up with anything just because they're your parents. And that's a huge habit within the black community, I noticed. A huge problem. And it's even worse when you're not even when you're not cis, when you're not a cisgender person. As I said, you're not obligated. You're not obligated to forgive your parents yet. You're not obligated to forgive your parents unless that is something that you have the desire to do. That's something you desire. I mean. But we as a spiritual collective are to have like a more nuanced conversation about forgiveness and how it's okay for you to go through the grieving process. It's okay for you to grieve the relationship you did not have with your parents or never had with your parents. It's okay for you to in order for you to reparent yourself, you are to give yourself permission. You are to give yourself permission to go through your emotions, because a healthy inner parent isn't going to judge you. When you are reparenting yourself, you're giving yourself permission to feel and to act accordingly without hurting yourself or someone else. Part of the spiritual journey is being honest with yourself about your own emotions and realizing that you have autonomy, and realizing that when you do go through, if and when you go through the concept of forgiveness is on your own time, and that's in your lack of forgiveness is also a part of your spiritual journey. Because by the end of the day, your parents don't have the right to just treat you however, simply because you are waving the olive branch because your spirituality says so. Self-care is being honest with yourself. Self-compassion is being honest with yourself. Self-compassion is being that inner parent for yourself, and allowing your inner parent to tell you that, for one, you're okay as you are, where you are in your spiritual journey, and that you yourself are not obligated. You're not obligated to just put up with anything. And I'm also saying this to, not only to trans people, but trans people who are also in the spiritual community, in the light worker community. You have every right to go through your anger. You have every right to hang up on your parents. You have every right to not talk to your parents. You have every right to not talk to any family member who doesn't see your greatness. You have every right to not want to be around those people. So forgiveness is like, is definitely a gift to yourself. But if you're not there yet, that's fine too. That's fine too. So anyway, that is all I have to say about this particular topic for today. If you enjoyed this video in some way, shape, or form, in any way, shape, or form, by all means, subscribe to the channel. You can also leave a comment. You can also share this video as well if it resonates with you. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and I'll put those. I'll put those links up. Um, so you'll follow me. You can follow me if you wish to do so. But thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it. Um, I really, really appreciate you and your support. Um, there'll be more videos like this, and I don't know how. More likely, they're not going to be polished or anything. But this is just my way of reaching out to the people and reaching out to people that I am meant to serve. And just to me, like doing videos like this, it brings me a sense of normalcy, to be honest with you, with everything going on. So, again, thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it. Until next time, peace. See ya.